distant lands. Through battles waged and fought, through victory and pain, by test of their courage, our freedom was gained. In homage to those gone before us, the heroes of lands in the sun, we vow to join hands and to focus on building one Caribbean. Raise your voices high, sing of your Caribbean pride.
Welcome, welcome, brothers, welcome, sisters. Welcome to our program On Target. We're back with you again, and as soon as we start this program, you can pick up the telephone and give us a call. We never have a subject matter. We speak about anything: politics, religion, socio-economic issues, issues trending, any topical issue of the day. Our main objective is to provoke discussion. You hardly could do justice to any topic in 1 hour. But what we could do, we could provoke discussion. We have to believe in the Caribbean that we could solve our problems, that we have the answers. Not the United States, not China, not Russia, not Europe. We have the answers to solve our problem, but we have to believe that. We have to encourage our family members, our children, the community to come and sit down and discuss issues. We may realize that we have to get outside help, but we must know what help we want. If we go to individuals to solve our problem, they might make problem for us. But we have to have confidence. We have to believe in ourselves. We have all what is necessary. We have what it takes. Yesterday was Mother's Day. Mother's Day is celebrated in 152 countries in the world. In Ethiopia, it is celebrated for about 3 days. And Mother's Day is important to be celebrated. Sometimes you hear men behaving a little jealous. It's not necessary. The woman is very invaluable, most important. If we are to propagate our species, if we want to make more, the female is so important that she needs special attention and protection and knowledge. We must have more discussion among our young potential mothers and fathers about the role the woman plays in the existence of mankind. We must do that. Sometimes you see our young women and they're so angry, they're upset because they are not supported. And they're not knowledgeable enough of their role. In the United States today, people are demonstrating because they want the right to determine who should live and who should die. It appears that the Supreme Court in the United States of America, which is heavily politicized, is not like Grenada Supreme Court. It's not like Grenada High Court. It is polarized between the Republican and the Democrats. An effort is made to override Roe versus, I can't remember what is it again. But that was the situation where women are given the right, Roe versus Wade. That is where women are given the right to determine if they should abort the child, if they should murder the child based upon the pro-life. Now, a woman has a very important role to play in our relationship. Sometimes I believe we are fracturing the relationship between man and woman. Man no good. Woman bad. Man no good. We have to educate the sexes to know we need one another. If we are to develop our country, if we have to develop our family, if we have to propagate our species, both parties need one another. But the role of the woman is extremely important. I hope all mothers had a happy Mother's Day. I appeal to the older mothers, you mature, you know better now, to constantly have discussion with the younger ones so that they understand the role of the woman and the mother. Yes, caller, welcome.
Hello, Mr. Pierre?
Yes, my brother.
Yes, I'm concerned about the money. How much money you have to pay when you going up for election? How much money a person have to pay?
You're concerned about the...
No, I mean how much money you have to pay before you when you going up for election?
Okay, it's not...
How much money?
I don't know. I think it's a small amount. Maybe it's under $300.
$300?
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I say, I find that too small.
You see,
You should bring it,
one of the reasons that they have that is that anybody who wishes to run in a democracy could run. They don't.
Yeah.
You don't want money prevent good people from running.
Yeah, well, not no good people, but I find it too low. That 300 you talk about is too low.
And what's about if you have...
Let me talk first. I will listen you up here. I feel it should be either 3,000 or 5,000. Then I will listen you up here.
All right. Thank you, caller. Yeah, the caller feels... Some people have advanced the view that it should be greater. But we have to understand, in a democratic country, you want to give everybody a voice. Our constitution does not recognize political parties. We have to understand that. It don't recognize political parties. So somebody could just wake up, decide to run election, and based upon their ideas, people gravitate towards them. But if you put up a price that prevents the ordinary man, the poor person, from participating in election, you might disadvantage them. Not because I'm unbroken. Don't mean I have good ideas. So this is why it's so necessary to put a token so that anybody who is interested in politics could manage to pay that amount. 5 or 10 people in the community might like your ideas and prepare to pay $300 for you. But if you come from a poor community, then they wouldn't be able to pay $5,000. There seems to be an upsurge in attack on the poor of the poor in Grenada. I find it extremely unfortunate at this time. Some of the utterances I'm hearing where people believe that if you help poor people, you're giving them handouts. I don't know why. You have to provide assistance for the less fortunate people in your community. If you don't, they may not be able to maintain a good standard of health. And whatever disease they get, you're going to get infected with it. If you don't help the poor people in our communities, they may not be able to get a good education. They are more likely to end up being violent, mentally challenged, and your children is going to make children for them. If you don't help the people in the lower socio-economic strata to raise the bar, there most likely would be more violence in your country. And you would have to have gated communities and big dogs to protect yourself. So it's in the interest of those who have. It is in the interest of the intelligentsia to help the less fortunate. In a lot of instances, people are not poor because they want to be poor. People are poor because of environmental circumstances. They are poor because they didn't have a proper education. So you almost have a recurring decimal. My parents born in poverty, we never had a good education. So it's difficult to obtain a job. You know? So this is why people, you leave the democratic system open so leaders from the poor could rise and change the circumstances. Grenada is a good example of that. Unlike Jamaica, our political leadership in Grenada came from the poor of the poor. Eric Matthew Gary was a country boy. He never went to secondary school. His highest level of education was primary school. And he was able to give this sermon. A Catholic priest let him give this sermon in the church. Imagine a little black boy, 12-year-old, a white priest, let him give this sermon. That's all he had behind his name. But Eric Gary came in and recognized the challenge that people have. His father was a watchman. I think his father must have come from St. Patrick's and his mother from Dunfermline. Poor people. His sister was in Paraclete. So if we make the amount that people have to pay too high, we may never get a Gary. And this is what it upsets me a bit. Because a lot of the people who pretend they know that they come from the privilegencia, they came from the country. They came from labor children. They came from the poor of the poor. Remember, Tilaita went in jail. She was a poor woman and she went in jail for blogger. Why she went in jail? Because Dias, the magistrate, gave the husband 3 months for dry wood. Until I had about 7 children then. So imagine when Dias come out in jail. He was so ashamed that he jumped the boat and go in Trinidad. He couldn't read and write. So he never communicated with Tilaita and said nothing. A poor woman, she didn't have an inside toilet and she fireside didn't cover. So when rain come in, she used to have 2 of her children holding a piece of galvanized so she could cook food for those that cried. Until I had a loud mouth. And we have a caller on the line, caller Punch.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, my brother.
And also to the listening public.
Great man.
First and foremost, the United States government lie to us on a regular basis and mislead us to believe. I already stated that Russia is more than innocent people in Ukraine. But what they're not telling us, that is the influence that caused trouble in Ukraine and the whole world. The president in Ukraine is an American puppet. I do not love war. Nobody wins in war. America is not reporting facts. They have their own agenda. An agenda, they are not the propaganda machines to brainwash the West with lies. Afghanistan was declared a state of terror. Bin Laden was killed after the Taliban was overthrown. America installed a puppet government, and little did they know that Afghans don't love them. They spent trillions of dollars to equip the Afghan army and train them. Money America throw in Afghanistan could have built sea defense for the whole Caribbean, hospital and road. Instead they tried to tame crab. And after they was chased out of Afghanistan, Imagine not a bullet of fire against the Taliban as the cease power. Right now they are well equipped and ready for war. America is a laughing stock in the Taliban country. They try to influence the Afghans, but they do not work. Most of the CNN news about Ukraine is misleading, untrue and false, fabricated. America turned Iraq and other country and Libya into real powder country with a bomb. They bomb them left, right and center. They use heavy bombers to turn them into ashes. So millions of women without husband, and they continue by the CIA and advantage the people of the world by the CIA political advisors. Thank you, Sir Pierre.
Yes, scholar, this one is interesting politics. That is where we go on different side of the pendulum with a passion. These developed countries, all of them, has exploited other countries. If you go back to Russia, Russia invaded an independent sovereign country, Ukraine. If you go back to the Holodomor, where over 13.5% of Ukraine starved, it is alleged that they cannibalized, they ate their pets, and they cannibalized in the Great Famine under Joseph Stalin. We have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome.
Good afternoon, Sir Pierre.
Yes, my brother. Punch.
Now, I called to just to touch base on the whole the question that has been going around for quite a while, especially the people who come from the United States. They've been talking about we should pay fortnightly instead of monthly. Now, recently I heard I think it's Dick Mitchell or whatever his name is, saying that if they win the election, they will pay fortnightly. And his rationale for saying that is that because Grenadians are borrowing, because of this situation, Grenadians are borrowing money and they have to pay high interest rates. Now the question I want to ask Mr. Dickey is that scientific? How you arrive at that? The same set of people who borrowing money from the fast cash people and them. This is the same set of people who will be doing the same thing if that is introduced. Now the point is that government pay other people fortnightly, some weekly, and we know that we know how government system function. They have to make money, collecting money by taxes and other things over a period of time to pay salary. So what has Mr. Dickens done any research to determine if that is feasible? You see, there are times people talk just like you take out a rabbit out of a hat and they expect it to work. You know, there is a lot of implication. For instance, as I was saying, the people, what in Grenada, people don't manage their money anymore. The world have changed, and you have a man, somebody have a debit card, and they see something, they don't really need it, and they want to push and they take money. And they spend all their money foolishly, and then we saying, pay money fortnightly, that will solve the problem. What research has this gentleman done to see if it is feasible and when it's economically viable in this country that you move from monthly to fortnightly? This is like a guy have a little rum shop, and you have a few guys come in and drink there, and he feel, well, what business good? He go on and make a bigger rum shop. Then he realize he don't have customers. Any decision you have to make based on research. And scientific research, and said, this is the data. It shows, based on the research, that if you pay money fortnightly, it will better the economy than if you pay monthly. But just for talk's sake, I mean, that's not a good sale.
Right, come.
And one of the things, if our society have changed, Now you might know before when you go in a dance or a party, you go in a decent place and you have a good time. Now a guy dug up 2 sheets of galvanized and he called it a hole or a pen or something, and everybody going. I mean, you must have known about panache. No longer, the world have changed, and people have to be careful when you're doing something, especially. I mean, as a matter of fact, these guys when they're outside, they talk, they do better than when they're in government because it's wishful thinking. So I just make that to show that, and not only that, the people in finance. It will be a burden to them. I work hard. As a matter of fact, whenever they have to pay extra salary, they have to work overtime. So all these are to be taken into concern before we just jump and say, oh, pay fortnightly instead of monthly. Thank you very much.
Yes, scholar. There are different schools of thought on that. For instance, a lot of people in the private sector is already getting, some people in the private sector pay their clients weekly. The estates and in agriculture worker used to pay fortnightly. And principally government workers, the banks and other insurance companies and big companies pay money by the month. You have a call on the line, caller, welcome.
Good afternoon to you,
Francis. Yes, my brother, welcome.
And good afternoon to your listeners.
Yeah.
Francis, well, yes, my contributions have a connection to what your last caller says there. But listen to me, Francis. No, when you was in when the NDC was in government, listen, 70 cents on every dollar that they earn did not belong to them. So we know unemployment was high, our credit worthiness was negative, and and things of that nature. Youth unemployment was over 55%. We know NDC implemented the 34 and 35 days in the month. They are telling us today, Francis, that this government have done nothing. This is the line. The government has done nothing and they have done just about everything wrong. The question I'm asking, you was not able to pay salary in 30 days during your time. You was not able to give any form of benefits to civil servants in your time. You are telling us that this government have not performed. You're literally saying they have failed us. Mr. Pierre, the question I'm asking this Monday afternoon is, how you can now telling us you're going to make all Imanis permanent. You're going to pay fortnightly and the other things you are promising. If nothing have changed, if the government did not perform, and if in the NDC time there was not in a position to do none of the things they are talking about today, the question I'm asking, sir, what have changed since 2013 that allows the NDC in 2022 to be promising so much things? Have a pleasant afternoon, sir.
Yes, scholar. The question of whether we pay, there are some workers in this country that are being paid by the week. There are some workers in the country that have been paid by the fortnight and some paid by the month. We have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome.
Mr. Pierre, good afternoon.
Yes, my brother.
Mr. Pierre, in 2008 to 2013, one of the NMP thing on the manifesto was free school books for all. And that free school books for all that NDC was talking about, when you have the government, that was there before, have free school books for people that in need. But and then even reaching out and helping them with the transportation and the uniform. So what NDC did, they say free school books for all. The rich people that could afford to purchase the school books and the uniform and travel train to school. That money that was the people that in need, the poor club in need, there was the franchise. They were not getting it. So you take out that now to give to the rich could afford to send the children to buy the children school books. You know something I always say in life? If you could afford to give free school books for all, I have the means, they have the money, okay. But then you should not do that and give children that need the uniform, that need the school books, and need the bus allowance for them to go to school. Then you see, like you're buying the school books, but yet the children don't have money to pay the bus. The uniform is a problem. So instead of you buy the book, but then you take away the bus fee and the uniform and just give them books. But what the NNP was doing, make sure that child, they have the school books, the uniform, and their bus allowance to take a child to school. You understand, Mr. Pierre?
Yes, my brother.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
I believe, yes, it's good to talk about that, but then you cannot try to do something to defranchise other people. I mean, let them reach half a year to get a school book, but then they still cannot able to go to school. The people who could afford to buy the uniform and send their child to school, even the private school, right, let it do it. But make sure that when you give the children that in their need, that you give them the uniform, you give them the books and the bus allowance, so the parents don't have no excuse why the children don't go to school, because you give them everything to send the child to school. But if you take away the uniform, you take away the bus allowance, and you give the child the school books, how will the children go to school?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Later.
Yeah. Sometimes when these suggestions are made by oppositions, sometimes we dismiss them completely. But sometimes you don't have to dismiss them. We have to discuss them. Already, some gradients are paid weekly. Some are paid fortnightly. And some are paid monthly. The greatest challenge might be for government to pay fortnightly, because sometimes governments struggle to pay monthly. But we could always encourage more people in the society to pay fortnightly, because estate workers, agriculture workers generally get their money fortnightly, and government road workers, I think, are paid fortnightly. So people in the devotion program, we have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome.
Yeah, in relation to the saying about NDC didn't pay salaries on time, but I think, to the best of my knowledge, it was only on one occasion. So I don't think it was for the whole term, that the 4 years or 5 years. But not that really to talk about. In relation to superpowers imposing on people, we have a clear, because I hear you was talking about that with Russia and so on.
Yeah.
We have a clear example. I know a lot of people won't disagree, but that's my position. We have a clear example of a superpower in the form of a United States of America landing on our shores in Grenada that what people call a rescue mission. Now, I condemn that outright, because you want to tell me you're a superpower. You land on my shores and start to open fire and kill people, and people talking about rescue mission. That was an act of aggression. That was an action of war against a sovereign country. It was not invited. A sovereign country that you know that your army, there was no way, all our bishop and them talk about let them bury them in the sea and let them come. There was no way that we army in Grenada, although they fought, they tried something, could have fight back. There was no match with the United States, that superpower. So to me, I find that they're talking about Russia, and I'm not upholding, condemn what's his name, Putin do, because that is always a similar thing, and we won't go into about Putin, but we're talking about Grenada here now. It's the same thing the United States of America do. People rescue mission and jump up on October 19th and 25th and give holiday rescue mission. But I oppose that, and I condemn that, because they're imposing their will on us. We were a sovereign nation, and you want to tell us that at that point in time that we could not solve our problems? We probably, if they had given us a little time, we could have been able to solve our problems with Bishop and revolution and collapse and so on and whatnot. But no, they come in invited by, who they say, Reagan, invited Eugenia Charles and who it is. I really don't know. I mean, going into
Paul Schoon was the governor general at that time.
Whoever it is at the time. But
Paul Schoon said he invited him.
Right, okay, but I am saying to you personally, I don't see that as a rescue mission. I see that as a blatant violation of sovereignty of a sovereign country, that you are superpower coming and imposed on a little army Grenada. There's no way we could have matched with these people. And I have no apologies. I condemn the invention of Grenada with these people, the superpowers, whether it's Russia, whether it's Canada, all of that, like what's happening in Russia right now. And we must condemn those actions.
Yeah, I don't think we could compare Russia with Grenada.
No.
We can't make this comparison because in Grenada,
just listen to me. What I'm talking about in terms of a superpower imposing their will on a sovereign country like Grenada, or probably any sovereign country. You have a problem. There was a problem in Grenada where two sides break up a heavy case. Let us solve the problems. We don't need anybody outside because we are intelligent enough at that point in time, even now, to solve our problems. Why should a superpower come in, impose their will on us? And the bottom line is war. You kill people. I don't care, even though 5 people get killed. You land on our shores. The place got bombed up. The how you call it, the radio station. So people was hurt. People got killed. And it was a war.
But in all fairness, Ukraine and Grenada, there is no comparison.
Right, but what I'm trying to say
no
is that,
comparison.
But I'm saying to you, I personally
agree with you.
And that these big countries do not impose yourself on small countries, because nobody will be able to fight with these superpowers, and I cannot support this sort of a thing.
Okay.
Right.
You see, in Grenada's context, I don't agree, is no difference. And I supported the American intervention because during the revolution, 3,000 people was in jail. A similar number had to run. The worst crimes was committed after slavery and colonialism. And they executed the leadership. The entire leadership was executed, except Paul Schoon. And Paul Schoon called on the members of the OECS and CARICOM. Whether it was before or after the fact, he legitimized the call and get the American to come. The American was glad to come too. But I agree that the time has come for us to condemn what Russia do to Ukraine. If we're going back in history and say the American do it, so it's right for Russia, we will never change. Welcome, caller. Punch.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Yes, my caller.
Yeah, I don't think I support most of what the lady just said.
That's our opinion.
Yeah, I didn't say it's not our opinion.
Yeah.
I'm saying I don't support it. Right? It's our opinion, and I cannot against her opinion. I just don't support it. And the fact is, it is not true to say that America imposed itself onto Grenada. As you just said, the head of the state at the time was the Governor General. And he called the rest of the Caribbean forces and for other help. And perhaps if they didn't come, we don't know what would have happened to a lot of us.
Well, they might have killed some more people and jailed some more people, you know?
Right, because it was a civil war. So
it was not a civil war. Who was fighting with them? They line up people against a wall and execute them. There's no civil war.
The revolution killed their own self. The people that made the revolution are the people that killed the revolution, as far as I'm concerned. So that is not quite true to make that comparison. I was glad that they come, and I'm sure a lot of Grenadians was glad that they come, because it was some people call it an invasion, I call it a rescue mission.
I call it an intervention and a welcome it.
Right. Okay. So I'm not in favor. Then she said she think it only once the NDC was not able to pay salary.
But remember, that's her opinion. Eh?
Yeah, I said that.
She wasn't establishing facts.
Okay. So
it's her opinion.
I'm saying that as far as I know, it wasn't one.
Yeah.
Plus that they actually sold properties after that to pay salary, right? And they sold things that wasn't even belonging to the government without proper investigation.
It's only 13 pieces of property they sell.
Well, 13 is a lot, and out of the 13, I do not have any of them is invested into the person that is the who buy it have not invested into it. So now that they are talking about paying salaries at the end of the month, twice per month, as you say, salaries in Grenada are paid fortnightly already. All estate workers get paid fortnightly.
Some people pay weekly, some pay fortnightly, and some people say
other carpenters and whatnot get paid fortnightly. So it's not a system that cannot work. We're not saying it cannot work.
I think perhaps it should be. We're going to encourage more.
Yes.
But because of government shortfall in finances all the time, and the track record that you have of having to overrun the time, what government should do is perhaps encourage more paying of salary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're right there, but
Wages,
the thing is, under the NDC, they was not able to stimulate growth in the economy. And that is important. If you cannot stimulate growth in the economy, then you can't say you could pay fortnightly. And we know that Mr. Tillman Thomas tried on 2 occasions to put a stimulus package in the economy, and that never worked.
Yeah.
Right? So if it didn't work, and you come in with the same organization come in, we have to do a lot of homework.
But in all fairness to them, the representative from St. Patrick say everybody on that team, they got rid of everybody on the team.
Well, that again is the next bad word.
So you say it's a new NDC.
You see, that again is the next bad word. You can't be contesting as NDC and making that statement. Anyhow, that's a matter for them.
Yeah.
Right? But that is a bad word.
Right.
But the fact remains is that until you could make sure that the economy can rise, the small salary that people get in Grenada now, we are paid than people in St. Vincent and St. Lucia. So when you're talking about paying fortnightly and you can't stimulate the economy, what's going to happen? A man working for a little or nothing at all, and you want to pay him that twice for the month.
Okay, so
you're still in trouble.
Yeah.
You're still in trouble. So I'm not saying it cannot be done, but we know that the NEC do not have a good track record for that.
Yeah.
They promised, the amount of things that they promised, they spent the term and they could not have delivered. You know, they told us that we'd have got self-government in Carriacou, local government on 2 occasions, and they couldn't bring it, and they give us data and time that it will come. So we know that they're not very good on stimulating economy. No, so to make that statement, no, I think there are a lot of homework to be done. I'm not saying it cannot be done, but a lot of homework to be done before you get into that.
Yeah. Yes, it is not. The question is, nothing is wrong with the idea, but sometimes when the politicians speak, they don't put timeline, and perhaps it have been more palatable to say we will do everything possible to encourage more paying of salaries by the fortnight. But nothing is wrong with that, because some people get paid by the week. Some businessmen pay the staff by the week. Some businessmen pay fortnightly. Some people pay daily. Very rare, a few people. Somebody might do a piece work for you and you pay them one time. We have a call on the line. Caller, welcome.
Just quickly.
Yeah.
I remember, I heard you say that Paul Schoon did call him in excess or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
I remember that when Ronald Reagan, because he was the president at the time, well, he was a I call these people chief public servant. He was a chief public servant at the time. And he was saying how he came into Grenada. He never said he was invited. He came to Grenada to rescue the medical students that was there. That's
one of the objectives of the American always use is a student. And Maurice Bishop and them perhaps went out of the way to try to make certain that nothing was wrong with the student.
Right.
So when the politicians speaking.
Right, so I'm saying to you, you are correct, because I heard that narrative before about what Paul Schoon said, so I'm not saying that you're misleading. But I remember clearly, he never talked about it, nobody invite him.
Well, you don't have to say they invite him if they invite him.
Right.
He said they come in.
Right, so he didn't say nobody invite him. That's number one. So he said to save medical students. He didn't say save Grenadians. One, number two. Even though, let's just, for argument's sake, say that he did say that they invited him. You have no right. It is an illegal act.
Caller,
you can't come in somebody's country.
In all fairness,
yeah. Well, we talk,
Paul's,
we're not arguing, we're not
yeah, all I'm saying is that the Governor General then
Right.
was the only legitimate authority in Grenada.
Right.
None others, because they killed the Prime Minister and a whole set of them. And
Then
people,
I am right. I understand,
Yeah.
and I am saying to you, even though you have a point that he was legally put the person, the fact is that you invaded somebody's country, and that.
I respect your opinion on that
Yes.
issue. It's a different school of thought.
Right. So different.
I respect your opinion on
So
that.
we'll have to find out. We're not quarreling, huh? We're not quarreling. So you have to. The question is, was invading somebody's country legal or not legal? And as far as I am concerned, that it was illegal, and it has to be condemned because it was a war that you fight and you come and you kill people.
Okay.
So while other people will say it's a rescue mission and people, I have no problem with that. We respect everybody's position. It was illegal.
Thank you, Colin.
Right.
You see, it all depends on, that's why I say your opinions are not fact, are not necessarily facts. We could take the same position and then Germany would have controlled the world. We could have said, well, no other country have right to come and don't intervene and let Germany do what they want. Germany decide to kill all the Jews, enslave the black man, and etc. In our case in Grenada, whether he did it before or after the fact, Paul Schoon legitimized the actions of the Americans, and the other Caribbean islands support it. And the majority of Grenadians then was very happy. They thought the remnants of the revolution gone mad. They lined up people against a wall and executed them. They brought tears to the members of the other ordinary folks in the Caribbean. We have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome.
Yeah, Mr. Pierre,
Yes, my brother.
looking at the two situations with Grenada and then Ukraine, they are totally
No difference, no difference.
No, what I'm saying that like
No, I'm not saying no similarities. It's totally
Exactly.
different.
it's totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you invade an independent country without no one gives you authority. What we create with Ukraine, what we created at the time, the governor general was in charge. And
Russia cannot even say somebody invite them.
Exactly, nobody invited.
Russia invade Ukraine because she find Ukraine is too cozy with NATO and America.
People like that.
Russia, Ukraine gave back Russia the nuclear weapons and they signed an agreement that they will invade them.
So that Russia break that covenant.
No, there is no similarity. It's
So there is
totally
no
different.
similarity?
Not at all.
So we create after you kill the president, kill those in charge of the country. The governor general is the one in charge.
Yeah,
And he's okay.
you see, there are so much issues that could be discussed. Because at this stage in Grenada, the majority of Grenadians welcome the Americans.
They welcome them.
And Paul Schoon was a legitimate head at that time. You know, and when there was no prime minister, no opposition leader. The Catholic Church, they was under so much pressure. They go to Rome for help. The lawyers didn't say one word. The trade unions didn't object. Everybody breathed a sigh of relief when these mad people were thrown out. Yeah, thank you. Yes, my brothers and sisters, and you could give us a call on any issues, any subject matter. The question of whether it's a right time for government to pay salary fortnightly. It's a legitimate proposal that might have to be given consideration. It might take some years to be implemented and gradually reducing the other people because it has serious consequences for government ability to pay. Ability to pay is an important factor. And now the debt to GDP ratio would increase tremendously because you have the pension issue. You have a war going on in Europe. A war that could cause the Third World War. Government could well raise taxes in this country. And these are the discussions you want to hear. This is why I couldn't understand the trade union, because they perhaps should be seriously considering that I don't want government drop the tax threshold. You have to be owning $3,000 today or more to pay personal income tax. What is the tax threshold in Barbados? What is the tax threshold in St. Vincent? Government spend more money on social safety net than any other person in the region. Would we have to cut social safety net program? Mr. Blaze did it during his era to have to manage the finances of Grenada. He cut social program and he retrenched workers. George Brizan did it. George Brizan cut social program and he retrenched the workers in the lower economic strata, the estate workers. Nobody complained because the public officers per se was not retrenched. But Maribo, Boulong, the propagating station, government estate workers was retrenched. They even retrenched Shati, the Calypsonian and all. So this government over the years seems to have a natural inclination to protect the people in the lower socioeconomic strata. This is why we had a structural adjustment program and government did not retrench anybody. People in the public service did not lose their job and government increased social spending. It's a new template when you're dealing with the IMF. A new template. The IMF came from Greece and left Greece in turmoil. And they came to Grenada. And Grenada come up with a new template that the IMF now seems to be adopting in any other country. In Barbados, the workers call on the government, try kit model. He didn't try kit model. He lost all the seats. He lost all the seats in Barbados. Because he didn't try the model in Grenada. It is the first time that model in Grenada was used with the IMF. So we need to be proud of that. Whether you like it or you like Tillman is not the issue. The issue is Grenada came up with a model that protect the people in the lower socio-economic strata, the poor of the poor. And at the same time, no one lose their job. And why they could have done that? Because Grenadians have a history of saving and not investing. So we have money in the economy. So what you need now is a philosophy that could encourage people to invest. When people get money, 60% of it going in savings. They put it in the bank. They put it in the credit union, in the financial institutions. And already, these people have a lot of cash. So they're not giving you interest, but you're giving them the money to save. So when you asking the government to borrow and push the money to people, it goes into financial institutions. So government could only deal with it by raising taxes. And it's not hard. Government don't have to drop the tax threshold from 3,000. But they could tax you on your savings. And this is some of the discussion you need from our economists and our politicians. What they make is blanket statements that generally means nothing. And what some of our journalists is not asking them is these economic questions. Because you must get the money from somewhere. Would you get that money by dropping the tax threshold? Would you obtain that money by cutting social program? Now, if you say you're going to grow the economy, how are you going to grow the economy when Grenadians are reluctant to invest? And you seem to be anti-investor by some of your utterances and statements. So when you come in, the investor will be watching you like a hawk, and they'll be waiting a while to see if your policy is favorable to them. During that period of time, what happens? You know, these are the questions. But on the issue of whether we could pay fortnightly, nothing is wrong with that concept. Nothing is wrong with that concept. You may not able to do it automatically. And a political organization should say that. This is our intention, but we may not able to do it immediately. That you're reaching power tomorrow and next month people expect to get fortnightly pay. That can happen. But nothing is wrong with the principle and the idea. And it may not be as difficult as it seems, because a number of people in Grenada is already getting money fortnightly. But they have consequences for the bank, the financial institutions, loan, and government seems always to be cash-strapped. Whereas all the financial institutions are liquid, government is not liquid. So it might be a greater challenge for government to pay the civil servants on time. And our unions are not tolerant. As soon as the government can't pay them a day, they will have strikes. So imagine the government trying to pay you fortnightly, and they were not able to keep up to that date. Would the union agree that there might be overlap in the first 5 years? So these discussions must take place. But when you make a blanket statement like that, it will come to haunt you. Particularly if your track record is not in keeping with your utterances. But it is worthy of discussion. I like the idea. I believe if I have to pay any worker, I pay them by the week, because I like the idea. So it could happen, but it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time because of the shaky economic situation we are in. Particularly now, the world is facing the Third World War. The issue in Ukraine is going to have serious consequences for the Caribbean. So our statements, even our economic policies, while you have to be hopeful, we have to be pretty conservative in our daring. And we need political stability. And political parties have to convince the electorate that they could unite and they could provide political stability, and they would not take actions that would affect the poor on the ground. Otherwise, you may have quite a lot of social ills and social problems. It's not easy in this period of time. So we must prepare to have healthy discussions on topics. And on these issues, you would have liked our economists and managers of the bank and managers of the credit union coming up with statements, rather than everything is just straight political backlash. I would have liked to hear what the principal managers in the banks, with the Cocoa Association, the Nutmeg Association, what these individuals are saying. But sometimes they just take it as a joke. Sometimes people just treat it as a joke. We have caller on the line. Caller, welcome.
I don't know if I could come back again.
Yes, you could. Go right ahead.
Okay. On the same issue that we were talking about with the invention and so on and whatnot, the thing about it, I know you said that people die, that the government at that time would kill and so on and whatnot, yes. But remember, we had what you call a revolutionary military council and they was the council, they was the government at that point in time. After the other side was two sides, one side killed the next, and the government that was existing at the time, whether it's legal or illegal, as we're not going into right now, was the Revolutionary Military Council. And I feel that we could have solved our problems, dialogue, because there was intelligent people enough in those days, and like now, and there was no need for an invention, because we should have been at that point in time given the opportunity. We was never given the opportunity to solve our problems, and we should have been given the opportunity. And if we was given the opportunity, probably we might have solved it. But to come and invade somebody's country...
Just one intervention. Just one intervention. After Maurice Bishop was released under house arrest, the market was prepared for Maurice Bishop to speak.
That's right.
Maurice Bishop went on the fort.
Yeah.
He rearmed himself. And Vincent Noel was giving out communique. His first communique was, we have a car with guns. We want 200 people to re-establish communication with the rest of the world.
Right.
By the time the word come out from his mouth, there were about 400 people.
But
They went and re-established communication with the world. When they came back, they said, let's go for Radix. He said, where Radix is heavily guarded. Don't even think about it. He sent out a communique that Bernard Code, a number, Ewart Lane, he called out about 7 or 8 of them, must report to the nearest police station. At that time, no one in Grenada intervened. We had students on the fort. We had children on the fort. These people line up children against a wall, people against a wall, including one child, and executed them.
Right,
This would have been a shocker
to
the Caribbean.
Right, okay, but understand, just give me a little time to respond.
You see, sometimes, like, people don't know what actually happened on the ground.
Yeah, I know all these things because where I used to work, I know, because I saw when everything passed. I used to work in the bank, probably you didn't know.
Well, I thought there was a whole breakdown of, there was no...
But you see, just give me 1 minute to respond, because you are correct when you said the events, how it happened in the market, etc. Fine, that is a fact, so you're not lying. But you see, what he should have done, in my opinion, he should have stayed in the market to go in up on the fort, which is the Army Revolutionary Quarters, where all the ammunition, and he was giving out ammunition. So you see, that provoked a kind of thing, and then the armored car was...
We come to the end of the program, Color.
Then when they send the forces to recapture the fort, as they say, and that's when the confusion...
Yes, Color, thank you. We come to the end of the program,
we
and
have not gone up over there.
we're going to have to continue the discussion next time.
Yeah, right.
You see, at this time, Maurice Bishop failed his country. Maurice Bishop used the children. He used the children to go and rearm his side. He did not go in the market square. He went on the fort. They took guns from other people on the fort. A car come with guns. They say, let's re-establish communication with the rest of the world. This is why I do not believe that a lot of small churches have it wrong. They say solo scriptura. It cannot be the scripture and the scripture alone. It has to be the traditional words of the forefathers. Because in Grenada, if you're looking for the written facts alone, you will not know about that. So that's why I like the traditional churches. Solos, the scripture, the magisterium, and the holy fathers. And in Grenada, we must not deal with what is written alone. We must deal also with the words, the eyewitnesses. The eyewitnesses that was there. I was there, and I heard Radix, and I saw the car, and I saw the guns, and I saw the children, and I was there. And we come to the end of our program with beautiful, healthy discussion. All we do is to provoke discussion on this program. And we respect your opinion, but opinions are not facts. Thank you.
Today as a people, the